Good morning, guys. It's Gary and the Legacy of Handmade Objects. It's a steamy Saturday morning here in Central Florida. Saturday morning, May the 10th, we're having a big event here today to think about Mother's Day. We've got a tea service up in the front area and an outdoor bazaar going on. If you're seeing this, you've probably missed this event, but we hope this will be the first of many things that's happening here in the shop. So I'm going to turn the camera around and walk around and show you kind of what's happening here. So here's Joa Jane Harpster, the tea lady with La Ti Da. And you can see that she's all ready for our first patrons to come in for some fancy teas and scones and all the kind of wonderful stuff that she has created. We heard a discussion, I heard a discussion a little while ago about homemade lemon curd, so that caught my attention. This front room is really becoming kind of a tea room atmosphere. And so anytime you're around and you're interested, come on in and check it out. And Joa's got a fine selection of teas there in the cabinet behind her. And we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna walk outside now and just kind of show you what the outside market's looking like today. And also I want to go back and visit quickly our new business here on site, which is Verde Vine. Salty plants, she calls it. So I'm selling cobbler for the business association today. I had it for our downtown market last night, but the weather decided to let loose, and so I brought what's left over here to sell. You know the shop from other videos, but isn't this exciting? Out in the driveway here, we've got a whole series of vendors. Today's event is called a garden block party, and we're using this to kind of kick off Carla's work back in the back with her plant shop. But today we're focusing on outdoor things, plants, lovely vendors here to kind of help kick things off and get things busy. Sourdough bread, one of my weaknesses here. We do have treats for your furry friends, for dogs and cats and that sorts of stuff. Got a chef here with some great concoctions. I love what's going on here with Florida Kinsey and her crochet things. I'm hoping to see some of those in the shop soon. Look at these little plants that she crochets here. Hey there. Soul Shine in a Jar. You've probably seen them advertising. Wonderful stuff happening there. And look at all the goodies. Good morning. So I haven't come back and visited this shop yet, and I am going to come back in the very near future and do a quick little interview with Carla. But this is a new concern. This was the original carriage house for the home. And she's done a wonderful job of renovating it, making it comfortable, having a place where everybody would want to come. So I'm just going to slip in here just for a few moments and kind of show you what it looks like. A very wonderful vibe here with all kinds of activity. Carla really is a plant whisperer. She is able to do some things with plants that make the rest of us a little bit jealous. We got free mimosas and all sorts of fun stuff. So that's a little bit of what's happening here on Saturday morning. If you're around in future Saturdays, check the schedule and see if we got anything going on before you come to Leesburg. Well, good afternoon. This is Gary Sly and the Legacy of Handmade Objects. It's Monday afternoon, May the 12th, and the busy excitement of the weekend and Mother's Day and all that has passed. And I can kind of settle down here in the front room and talk a little bit about what's been happening over the last week. And also I have kind of an exciting announcement to make towards the end of today's video. I am fortifying myself on handmade fudge from Uncle Butch's Fudge in Knoxville, Tennessee, which was one of the birthday gifts that I received the end of last week. Thank you for the birthday greetings and all the kind of fun things that happened there. Now, you saw the little video at the beginning of today's broadcast that showed you what was happening on the Saturday before Mother's Day. This room was filled with people and all kinds of fancy dress-up outfits and tea and scones and crumpets and all the kind of fun things that you have at formal teas. And then you also saw outside in the driveway there was a craft festival, and we kind of kicked off as a grand opening the new space, Verdevine, the plant and garden boutique, which is around back. And it was just a lot of fun to see people here. I remarked to one person that it really is beginning to look a little bit like I had envisioned it here, that this house would become an umbrella for all kinds of handmade crafts and activities and things like that. So that's been very exciting. One thing I did fun last Friday on my birthday is I went and visited with the Leesburg Photography Club. And I was eager. I always like going and speaking to groups, and I've mentioned this before. If you ever need a speaker and you're willing to pay my way, I'm happy to come and talk about this subject that I love so much, the legacy of handmade objects. But I went to the Leesburg Photography Club. They invited me, and I think they might have been just a little bemused at first as to why I would show up at a photography club. But of course, one of the first things we got into and talked about was the idea of photography as a handmade object. It might feel a little bit removed from the earlier days of photography when we mentioned digital photography, and most of us with our phones take photos all during the week now. But keep in mind that process really didn't begin in a public way until the 1990s, and the very process of digital photography was only invented in the 50s. I did a little research before I got there, and I was surprised to know that there was some evidence of earliest photographic experimentation as early as 1717, when it appears that somebody attempted to take a photo or a photographic image of the label of a bottle. I'm gonna stick some fudge in my mouth here while I'm talking too. But, well, maybe I should have not done that. Oh well, I can't talk on a video and eat fudge at the same time, so it'll have to wait. The rest of it will have to wait. I chose the milk chocolate first. There's no fudge that I don't like, but of dark chocolate, fudge chocolate, and milk chocolate, I decided to tackle the milk chocolate first, so I had a few bites of that. Anyway, back to photography. The really big issue that photographers deal with today is the transition that photography has gone through. Billions of photographs are taken every day. I asked them how many, it was a pretty large group, maybe 30 people there. I asked them how many of them still take photographs using the old-fashioned film process, and only 2 of them out of that whole group still do that. So I think modern photography has fully embraced digital photography. And you know, there's a lot of discussion about how great it is. Of course, some of the drawbacks are that because of digital photography, we don't have as many of those keepsake photos that used to be so important to us. I was remembering with them going to both of my grandmother's houses and just sitting and looking through their box of photographs and enjoying my grandmother, particularly sitting down and telling me who those folks were and how she knew them and what their stories were, which, as you know, is kind of part of my gospel about this whole legacy of handmade objects anyway, is that as we identify handmade objects, we want to tell the stories. We want to be something, excuse me, that future generations will appreciate because of how they fit into that story. So they talk about pre-digital and post-digital as the light side and the dark side. But at the same time, they do fully embrace it. One interesting thing that I read about and did a little research on is this idea of whether digital photography is more ecologically sound. Of course, certainly when you think about the process of developing film and all the chemicals and work that was involved with that, you can understand that there would be an ecological or environmental impact. But some people are arguing that today, because of the billions of photographs that are taken and all the kind of storage facility that is used to accommodate that online, that a great deal of power and resources is being used up for that. So it may be that the old-fashioned way of doing photographs might be a better environmental deal than what we do currently. But of course, there's so many advantages now to digital photography. You can edit your work, you can see it immediately, you don't have to take it off to the pharmacy and wait for it to come back and then find out that you had left the lens cap on, or you had stuck your finger in every picture that you made, so you can't see Aunt Bertha's face at all. You can only see the outlines of her head. You don't have to deal with that today with digital photography. You can see it immediately. So there are definitely pros and cons, and anytime we look back at a craft or a skill and we see it changing, we see that there are those who say, oh, those changes are terrible, they'll never do us. And then there are others who are willing to embrace it. So I thought it was a lot of fun to talk to them and get their sense of whether that whole legacy of handmade objects is lost. And they would argue no, that the skill and the technique of using digital photography is still a fascinating one. They were quite interested to learn how photography, and particularly digital photography, laps over into the work that we do in the fiber art world. You've heard me go on at some length about the cross-stitch patterns that I've done using digital photos, and how thrilled I was to find out about pixels, because that's really all we talk about in a modern sense when we talk about counting cross-stitch and all those squares, which are simply the confluence of warp and weft. And again, when we think about fiber arts, tapestry weaving is another way that we see those individual little blocks put together and woven to create patterns. Crochet is another skill where people can use the whole pixel idea, or the block confluence of strands. I've mentioned before crochet by number, which a friend of mine embraces and does all kinds of wonderful crochet portraits of her pets and her family members and stuff like that. Quilting, if you see art quilts and very complex quilts with patterns that emerge, you would see the same process of pixels or individual squares that are made to create a larger image as they're put together in certain patterns. So they spent a lot of time looking at the image or the cross-stitch piece that I took with me, which is one that I did for my son. And I think there's room for a great deal of collaboration between photographers and fiber artists as we think about creating new things. And it opens up avenues of collaboration and skill that maybe we hadn't even thought about before. I'm sure those Navajo women out on the reservation 100 years ago did not see any relationship between what they were weaving in those Navajo rugs and the modern concept of photography, but the concepts are the same. So that was a fun thing. And then of course you saw a little bit about what was happening on Saturday. There are two upcoming events here in the shop that I'm pretty excited about. For the 4th year now, I'm having my customer stitching contest here in the shop. The last week in May, customers and patrons who come into the shop will bring in their cross-stitch pieces. They have to bring something that they haven't shown before because we want it to be fair. And you know, I have a set of rules that are there on my Facebook page, and I explain that they need to be done by the person who brings them in, and they need to be finished in some way. It's just kind of a fun way for people to come in and show off what they've been working on. I well remember this at the cross-stitch shop that I used to go to in Virginia, and how much fun it was and how exciting it was that I actually won a prize one time. and got some money to spend in the cross stitch shop. Because of course, you know, that's why we all do this, so we can go buy more cross stitch patterns. So I'm really excited about that, and the first entry is already on the wall, so I'll do a little survey of those entries as they come in, and they'll hang on the wall for the month of June here in the shop, and anybody who comes in can vote for their favorites, and of course I'll give prizes of gift cards to the top winners. Another really exciting thing for me, and I'll post this flyer just after the discussion today, is starting on August the 2nd, I'm going to be hosting the first of what I hope will be quite a series of one-day stitching and other fiber art retreats. So on August the 2nd, I'm going to do something called Stitching Counts, which is a full day of stitching, and we're going to have at least one trunk show there. We're going to have door prizes and activities. We're going to have a catered lunch. This is going to be held at the Large Methodist Church, which is right across the street from my shop. And it's just a perfect opportunity for us to gather and celebrate the stitching community here in Central Florida, and at the same time have some fun and expose people to what's going on here in my shop. If you're interested, if you're local, of course, it's quite easy. You'll be able to just come over for the day. And registration is at my webpage on GaryLeeSly.com. Feel free to go on there, and under events, you can see the event, you can pay for it online. If you're not comfortable with that sort of thing, you can call me here at the shop, or you can even stop by. Excuse me. What was I going to say? Oh, but this is really, I hope, just the first of a series. In September, I'm hoping to do a similar kind of event for knitters and crocheters, tatters and lace makers. And then a little later after that, I haven't exactly scheduled the next one, but I want to do some things for weavers, spinners, rug hookers, and some of those activities. I did want to say, if you're traveling from somewhere else and you did want to come to the retreat and you need help with reservations for housing or anything like that, any kind of information I can give you about Central Florida, just give me a call or connect with me through YouTube, and I'll be happy to send you some information. There are a couple nice hotels nearby, and of course, if you're flying, you can fly into Orlando and spend a little time at Disney or Universal Studios before you come up to Leesburg. We're about an hour north of Orlando, so it's quite easy to get here. And if you want to come and spend the day here as part of this stitching retreat, we'd love to have you. So I'm really excited about that. I think that's another way that I can help build community and help share the things that I'm passionate about and help others learn and grow and celebrate. The final thing I'll just share today as I'm finishing up, I've traveled quite a bit through the years, and one of the things I've noticed, especially when I've connected with people in local communities, is that people around the world do a lot more celebrating than we do here in the States. I think the perception is that we work way too much. And of course, you know, there's some value to that, but I really want these retreats, and I really want the kind of things that I do here at the shop to foster a sense of celebration. It's hard to be grumpy when there's a celebration going on. It's hard to be unhappy or to criticize when there's a celebration happening. So if you're interested, I'll try to get as much information as I can out on social media and various sources. And if you're not able to come here, then find some celebrations near you where needlework, weaving, knitting, crochet, whatever it may be, are being celebrated and shared with the people around you. So that's it for today. I'll be diving into some new territory next week, and want to get back into some new ideas as we move into the summertime. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being part of things. This is Gary Sly, and it's the legacy of Handmade Objects.